What's going on, everybody? Andrew Thompson here of the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. Subscribe, leave a comment, or like if you wish. On the line with me right now is the current Ring of Honor World Television Champion, Shane Taylor. Shane, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, man, but I'm gonna need some more energy on that intro. It's kind of one note. You're talking to the baddest champ you ever seen, boy. You know what I mean? I need that energy from you.
We gonna get that right on the outro and make sure I get that right on the outro.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So you won that television title back in May. After it's been 8 months now since you won the title. What are your thoughts about your title reign thus far?
My thoughts on my title reign is I am doing exactly what I told people that I'd do from the start. I told people that if I got the opportunity to show them exactly who I was, I would make history. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Nobody defends their championships in Ring of Honor like I do. Not the World Championship, not the tag titles, none of them. Um, you're talking about when we went to the UK tour, all 3 nights, 3 championship defenses. I'm the longest single reigning champion in ROH right now. Um, Going into Final Battle this Friday, I'm going for the 13th defense of my World Television Championship. If I'm successful there and I get out and into the new year as champion, I will already be top 5 on the list of the greatest Ring of Honor television champions of all time. And the goal is not to be number 5 or 3 or 2. The goal is to be the absolute best, to be number 1. And to do that, I have to beat Jay Lethal's record of 35 championship defenses. So even though we're on a good clip with 12, to me, I still have 23 left to go, 24 to beat it. And to me, that's where all my focus is.
Now, watching you wrestle, you always have that certain chemistry with smaller guys. Do you prefer working with smaller guys, or do you find fulfillment in going out there with like a Brody King or a Jeff Cobb and showing the crowd what you guys can do as larger athletes, opposed to doing the dynamic of big guy, small guy?
I like going out there with people that are going to push me. At the end of the day, when you're a fighter, when you're a performer, a wrestler, whatever it is, you like people to bring that energy to you. Some of my best matches are with Jeff Cobb, and I've had other great matches in my career with bigger guys. So to me, the common denominator of those great matches is Shane T. you know,
I
I
respect it.
I elevate everybody around me. So for me, um, it's semantics at this point when people look at the roster of Ring of Honor and they ask who the man is, who is the guy that everybody should be gunning for. The answer is me. They're not lining up around the block to fight Roosh. They're not lining up around the block to fight the Briscoes. They're lining up around the block to fight Shane T, because they know when they get in the ring with me, the world's watching and they're going to be talking about it.
For sure, man. So this year, well, I believe this year alone, man, you picked up victories over the likes of people like Kenny King, Bandito. I know you beating Joe Hendry, man. Just what you've done in 2019 as this year is coming to an end. What's on tap for Shane Taylor in 2020?
Man, worldwide expansion. As as people know, or if they don't, I started my own promotional company. I bought my contract out from ROH, so I'm no longer an employee of ROH, but I entered into a fight by fight business venture with them. No different than were to look at, boxers or MMA fighters. So now I have full control of my career. I don't have any bosses. I'm my boss. And when you deal with wrestling and these things come out, a lot of fans think they know everything. Oh well, this and this is this and this is this, and they don't know anything.
Assuming that it is
Right.
like it's a part of like a
Right.
storyline, basically.
Exactly. So for me to say, hey, you know, I have the most unique agreement in all of professional wrestling is not a lie, because I do. And for me, that hinges upon me keeping the World Television Championship. That's where the power is. That's where all of the negotiation leverage comes in. So uh, for me going forward, it's continuing to establish my legacy, continue to be dominant, continue to help motivate my team uh, with Ron Hunt, Khan, Moses, um, and present myself and my team uh, as something that we can be proud of, our families can be proud of, our culture can be proud of, um, and continue to be the example going forward and expand the brand into other countries as well. By 2020, by the end of next year, I want to have a Shane Taylor Promotions UK,
Mm.
Shane Taylor Promotions Australia, and the list goes on. Worldwide expansion, worldwide domination. That's what I want in 2020.
Now, while speaking about Shane Taylor Promotions, on the well, on December 13th, that final battle, you'll be defending the ROH television title against Dragon Lee, and the day after that, it will be the Shane Taylor Promotions Battle Royal at Maryland Championship Wrestling, right? So,
Yes, sir.
so when you originally brought Shane Taylor Promotion to the forefront, um, you talked about being overlooked in Ring of Honor and underutilized. Those were legit feelings, right?
Oh, of course they were. And anybody, and again, I come from a background when people look into my history, I come from a very sports related background to where if I work harder than you and I'm showing more progress, I'm putting in the work and doing that, I get your spot. Why? Because I outperformed you. But professional wrestling isn't like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, you know, in no other sport, if I run a faster 40 time, should I have to run less fast to make you look faster? You know what I mean? Um, uh, so for me, that's never been something that's clicked with me. So I'm not a guy that does well sitting on anybody's bench or sitting on anybody's sideline because I know when you put me in the game, not only can I score, but I can take the game over. Uh,
There it
and
is.
so that's
Yeah.
exactly what I did with Shane Taylor Promotions was I decided, you know what, cool. Don't put me in the game. I'll go to another team, my own team, and we'll compete against you that way. And now we see what the result of that is. I'm the world television champion, one of the most dominant that they've seen in the last few years, and going to be the greatest of all time. It's just a matter of time.
And to jump over to another topic, just from what you've seen thus far in your career in wrestling, how do you feel that black people have risen in this sport as far as character development and earning and taking opportunities that were probably not even there? You can even go as far back as saying maybe 8, 9 years ago.
I mean, it's incredible to see the progress that's come. I still feel like there's a long way to go.
Oh, definitely.
Um, So, it's fantastic to see, people that I know well, have success. Guys like Keith Lee, who had an absolutely incredible Survivor Series weekend, and now the world is talking about him as they should have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It, it's amazing to see guys like Kofi have their run, who's been killing it for the last decade plus. You know, and it's inspiring to see not only the men but the women do do their thing as well because there's so much talent out there. It's just again in this sport, people like to put us in boxes and put us in stereotypes of what we can and can't be, and that reflects what
Hmm.
society, right? And wrestling mirrors that. And so for me to be able to be on a platform and turn that mirror around and go, I am more than what you think I am. I am more than what you think I can be. I am more than what you want to promote me as. Um, and stick by that. That to me, is how we continue to push this forward and continue to keep these doors open, and continue to let the next generation see that whether it's wrestling, media, music, and TV, whatever it is, you don't have to be a caricature of black culture to be successful. You find what your talent is, find what you can do it well, and then promote yourself that way. You don't have to give in to the pressure of, you know, doing whatever you need to do to make a dollar. You can earn income and be successful and keep your pride.
Yeah, I really like the way you worded that because there seems to be a shift that I've noticed just within this past year of African American talents and just how black people are just progressing not only in professional wrestling but just what I'm noticing just in all aspects of culture today. Like things are really starting to take a change, but there's like you know how you can tell it's a change, but it's like it's still like a long ways to go.
Oh, of course, and you're starting to see it, and every journey begins with that first step. And a lot of the issues are, you'll have um, a lot of people that want to do things, but then they're afraid because that requires a leap. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's uncertainty. You can say, hey, if I do this, I know this check is here, but if I don't know when that next check is coming. You know what I mean? So, and I understand that, but at the end of the day, you have to weigh out what's more important. You know, I would much rather struggle, and I have throughout my career, um, doing things my way than having to look in the mirror knowing that I was successful going against everything it is that I believed in.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? Like I have two daughters to raise. How am I going to tell them, and teach them morals if I'm not practicing what I preach or doing what I said that I was going to do? You
Mm.
see what I'm saying? That makes me a hypocrite. That I can't do. Um, so to me, that's what outweighs anything, is making sure that my dignity is intact first, my pride is intact first, and then the money comes after that.
All right, and I know it's like it's a certain fulfillment of knowing that you did things the right way in your head, and you did things the way that you saw fit, opposed to
Exactly.
having somebody else walk up and tell you, hey, this is what I want you to do, and you doing it, and then
Right.
knowing that you really didn't want to do that, but
Right.
yeah,
Right. And then,
yeah, you good.
and then there's no end to that circle, right? Because then you're like, oh, well, I didn't really want to do it this way, but then people don't really want to forgive you for that because they're like, well, you had the choice.
All
You know
right,
what I mean?
right,
So
right.
I'd rather just do it my way, do it the way that I know it can be done, utilize and see my vision and execute that than worry about anybody else trying to force me into a box.
100%, man. I completely agree with what you just said. So I know we just brought up Keith Lee's name. Can you speak about? Well, I know you've spoken about in the past about your friendship with Keith Lee and Erik, formerly known as Raymond Rowe. Do you guys still communicate? And how proud of you? How proud are you of them as a friend to see those guys in prominent positions now in WWE? As we mentioned with Keith Lee having his big Survivor Series weekend, and
Mhm.
Erik and Ivar, they're the Raw Tag Team Champions. Just as a friend and as a fellow professional, how how good is that for you to see two guys that you came up through the ranks with, thriving in WWE?
It's fantastic, and yeah, we talk like weekly. I'm always shooting them either like funny memes or messages or vice versa, and and we text back and forth. I just went to go see Ray for his birthday in Cleveland. Um, Shout out to his wife Sarah as well, who hooked that up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm extremely proud of both of them. When Keith had his big Survivor Series weekend, even though it was late, I made sure to send him a text going, just letting him know how proud of him I was. Both of us had our visions of what we wanted to be and where we wanted to go and what we wanted to do and how we wanted to take this sport over. And separately, we are able to do that on our own terms and doing it the way we wanted to do it. Um, Sometimes that takes a little bit longer, but again, traveling down that road and doing it the right way makes it all that much better in the end when you get to your goal. And with Ray, seeing him achieve just about every goal on his checklist that he wrote down years ago, winning championships all over the world, winning championships at the very top of this sport, winning championships in Japan, and seeing everything that he's done now from where we came from in Cleveland. Man, I couldn't be prouder of the guy. Both of them, are like the big brothers that I never had, and I tell them that. And words can't do justice as to how proud I am of them, how much I wish for their continued success. Um, and I'm sure if you were to ask them, the same would be said to me about the things that I'm doing now. So, uh, much respect to them, much love to them, and keep it going.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you mentioned that because I actually wanted to read you something from Raymond Rowe. He joined WWE's After the Bell podcast. I'm not sure if you've seen that on Twitter or not. But
No, I have.
yeah, you seen it. He was on that podcast and he was talking about his motorcycle accident, and he actually had
Mhm.
this to say about you actually, and I wanted to read it to you. I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
Oh, okay.
And I quote, he said, when I was out, meaning the motorcycle accident, he said I had about 3 months of savings and I had about 6 months of injuries with no income. So I went back to my ultra poor days and I was living on $20 a week and making it stretch. And I had friends of mine, being Shane Taylor, who you know, Will Corey, was buying me dinner twice a week, just coming to the house with food. He was my roommate at the time. We were going to the gym every day, and he was buying groceries. I would come home and there would just be food there. Without him, without guys like Jax Dane and other guys like that, I wouldn't have made it through that 6 month stretch. And I quote, and that's what
Mm.
he had to say about you. He also like well, after the quote, he had some very positive things to say about you. It was just, very thankful, and you could tell he didn't like his success. He didn't let his past. He didn't forget his past, and that's what I took from it. I
Oh no,
like
and and
yeah, you go ahead.
and for anybody that knows Ray, that's not even a thing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
um, but that's what you do for family. You know what I mean? Like there's very few people in this world outside of my kids that I would take a bullet for. He's one of them. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like so,
yeah,
uh, to me, like if you were, our families are extremely close. Blood couldn't make us any closer. You know what I mean? So uh, if if I was in the situation that he was in, I can pretty much guarantee the same actions would have been taken. You see what I'm saying?
right,
So uh, there's no thanks that's needed from, you know what I mean? Like it's just, those are things that you do
right. Like
um,
you saying, like you, I get what you're saying.
for
Like
family.
you
You know what I mean?
appreciate it, but it's like
Right.
that's what
But
we
yeah,
do.
right, exactly. You know what I mean? So uh, I'm just, his success is based off of his hard work and what he does and the pride he takes in his craft, and he deserves every bit of it. That's awesome.
Do you ever find that like just a little bit surreal how like you start somewhere with somebody and like you see them from their beginning and vice versa, and then like you look down a couple of years later and both of you guys are doing something real positive, doing something
Uh,
at the
we
top of your careers. Isn't that
we
like
have those
crazy?
conversations all the time. Like I'm sitting there, and just moments that he's had, like he got to do a beer bash with Stone Cold. He didn't even drink, like he just poured the beer on his head. You know what I mean? Like he's like, we watched as kids, Stone Cold pouring beers and oh hell yeah, and the fingers and all that.
Mm,
So to be in the ring with him now, to be able to do that, to be tag team champions on Raw, like all of that is surreal. But like we are living a dream that we saw in our eyes as kids. You know what I mean? And so
mm,
to be able to say that that's real life, to be able to wake up and see the bank accounts and see, you know what I
right,
mean, and see everything that's going on, you're like, this is, we really did this. You know what I mean?
right.
Um,
It,
that's awesome.
it, it,
And the best part about it is we still have so many more goals to accomplish, and it's only going to get better going forward.
Can you just tell me about like the fulfillment of, because everybody has, doubters in their life, and when they, chasing, the quote unquote dream, do you find that just a fulfillment in, you know having people doubt you, and then you eventually making it to where you set your goals at, and then it's just like that, or do you not really pay attention to that feeling? You just kind of keep progressing,
No, that's exactly what I use. And it's not the healthiest thing in the world, but to
right?
me and my friends tell you, Ray will tell you, the the worst person that you can have across from you is a pissed off and angry and motivated Shane Taylor. Because then I will do absolutely everything in my power to make sure I erase you off the planet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In whatever form of competition that we're in. Um, so for me, that's exactly why, and what the emphasis behind Shane Taylor Promotions was. Like, okay, you don't believe in me, you don't think that I'm going to be a star, you think that I'm only going to reach this status or this platform, let me show you.
Right, right,
You know what I mean? And here we are. And it's the same thing with me trying to expand, going into different countries, or trying to, people have their set groups and their set lists, and these close knit circles that only get opportunities for those close knit circles and their friends. And it's like, eventually I'm going to get my foot in the door, and there's no stopping it. You know what I mean? There's
right.
no stopping me. There's no stopping what I'm doing. I am dead set and focused on getting where I need to be. And people can either be a part of it or they can watch me run them over. either way, it doesn't matter to me. But I'm going to get to where I'm going to get to, and my people know that, and the ones closest to me know that. So once they see me on a path, they just sit back and laugh because they already know the end result. You know what I mean? So to me, it's just it's satisfying to be able to achieve those things, then look at them and go, I told you. Now you look stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. That's I respect it. That's like the way you worded it and the way that you just broke that down. Like it kind of resonates and it will resonate with a lot of people. Just a few more questions here before we wrap it up. Take me back to this past April. You wrestled in a 6-man tag match inside Madison Square Garden. What was that experience like? Was that like one of those childhood things, or one of those things that we just talked about, how you and Ray Rowe, like you guys talked about those dreams and goals, and then like now I'm assuming that one of those goals or one of those like fantasy things is like, oh, I'm going to wrestle in Madison Square Garden one day, and then 2019, here you are wrestling inside Madison Square Garden.
The crazy thing for me is wrestling in Madison Square Garden was never a goal because
Okay.
growing up in Cleveland, I didn't think I'd get to this point. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd live past 30. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
I understand.
uh, so for me, that's one of those just perks of being in the right place at the right time, and just one of those things that you can look back on your career and go, "Wow, I got to do that too. That's awesome." You know what I mean? Like that's a cherry on top thing, because for me, it was never, well, I'm the wrestler in this venue or do this. Like, I just wanted to be able to be successful and make this career and provide for my family, um, doing something that I love to do. Everything else on top of that is gravy. So, um, having done it now and being able to look back on it now, it's still surreal. Like, man, I wrestled in Madison Square Garden.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like of the hundreds of thousands of people of that do this now, of the millions that have done it throughout the history of the sport, there's very few that can say they've done that.
Very true.
And I get to be on that list. So for me, that's incredible.
Okay, so lastly, what would the Shane Taylor of today, what advice would the Shane Taylor of today have for the Shane Taylor who was just starting out in professional wrestling? Throughout the
Mm.
throughout the times of being feeling discouraged, or not having
Mhm.
any motivation, what would you tell your former self, well, not even your former self, your past self, I should say, about just how to stay the course and how to keep moving forward?
Everything that you're everything that you're going through leads you to this point. So take everything in stride. Don't take everything so personal, because, like I said, I come from a background that's very sports related. So, wrestling is different than just playing a sport. So there's a lot of times where I would feel personally like, man, they don't think that I'm good enough, and it would fuel me in a negative way. Whereas now I'm able to, and I'm old enough to understand things, understand the game, and I can use it as fuel in a positive way. Um, so that would be my advice to my past self: is be smart about what you do. Don't take every no as an insult. Use it as a way to
Mm.
improve yourself and continue to get back to and continue to get to where you want to get to. And when they look at you, they're going to need you before you need them. That's where you have the power. That's where you have the leverage. That's when the ball is in your court, and that's when you get to set the price on everybody.
There it is. There it is. Shane. I didn't get the intro right, so I'm gonna get the outro right, ladies and gentlemen. The ROH Ring of Honor
Mm-hmm.
World Television Champion, the boss man behind Shane Taylor Promotions, the Shane Taylor. Shane, I want to thank you for your time, brother.
Appreciate you, man. Anytime.